Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming to the Sunday Feast class at ISKCON Portland. And we will start the class now. We will start by reciting the Mangalacharan prayers, prayers that bring auspiciousness and purity in our heart, so that we can understand the message of the scriptures. I will show it on the screen. So if possible, we can recite together. And I'm recording also, so I will just share screen for that reason. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutah Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwar Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we have very wonderful festivals coming up in our temple. Are you here for the first time in this temple? Okay. So this is a temple of Lord Krishna. Have you heard of Krishna? Okay, great. Wonderful. That's all that is needed to understand today's class. So the appearance day or the birthday of Lord Krishna is coming up in 2 weeks. That's on 19th of August that we are celebrating. Is that correct? It's on a Friday. And so please come on that day for sure. There'll be a nice big celebration. And many other festivals and activities are coming up. So today I'm going to speak on the cleaning of the heart. And I was inspired to talk about this topic because yesterday we did a big cleaning project of the temple. So there were like probably 30, 40 devotees or volunteers here in the temple, kind of cleaning various places. I mean, the temple looked clean in general. It wasn't like dirty, but still, going behind the corners and all the areas that are hard to reach were cleaned up and things like that. So there is this beautiful topic where Lord Krishna, who appeared 500 years ago as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they are our presiding deities on the altar here, also showed by example how to clean the temple. And that is the topic I want to discuss today. Clear? Cleaning the temple. Now, why is it important to talk about? So let me share sort of this. This is a picture of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you can see here. This is the Lord who is cleaning the temple, his own temple. So the Lord is the presiding personality in the temple, but he is cleaning his temple. So he's showing by example. And why is it important to talk about the topic of cleaning the temple? So this is a physical building where who is the head of this building? It's the Lord Shri Krishna, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the head of the temple. He is the main person sitting in the temple, and we need to keep it clean. Like in our house, we want to keep the house clean because we want to live in a clean house. In the same way, our heart is also a temple. Our heart is also the place where the Lord sits. And therefore, we must clean our heart so that we can give a nice sitting place to the Lord. So externally, the temple is a physical building that we need to keep clean, but it is equally important to also clean our heart because the Lord is sitting inside. And the two activities are synonymous, and that is what we will focus on. As we are cleaning the temple, we should utilize that opportunity or that sewa. When we do it in that mood of sewa bhava, of serving the Lord, then our heart also gets cleaned. So that is the topic I wanted to talk about. So this topic of cleaning the temple is covered in this wonderful scripture called Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this is basically the most authoritative and elaborate commentary or biography on the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just like the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is for Lord Sri Krishna. So this is the biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all his pastimes and activities. And this is the middle section known as Madhya Lila. And this is chapter 12, cleansing of the Gundica temple. And a lot of learnings are to be had from this discussion. So we must focus on the external activity, but also focus on the internal aspect. Because this opportunity of cleaning the temple physically doesn't arrive every day, every week. It happens once a year. So it doesn't mean that we should just clean our heart also once a year. That activity has to go on perpetually, continuously. So therefore, it is very important to understand that as well. So I will go through some aspects of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 12, and this whole episode of cleaning the temple starts at about verse number 71 in the chapter 12, Madhya Lila, where the Jagannath Rath Yatra festival is about to occur in that time. And by the way, I think today is the day of the Jagannath Rath Yatra, or maybe it was yesterday, I can't, but it was this weekend for sure in Los Angeles. Big Rath Yatra. Today or yesterday? Huh? Yesterday? Yesterday. Maybe today, we don't know. Anyway, so nice opportunity to talk about Rath Yatra as well. But And it happened about a month ago in India, in Jagannath Puri, the sort of the actual Rath Yatra, which has been happening for thousands of years. So in the Rath Yatra, what happens is that the Lord comes out of the temple and sits in a rath or a big palatial cart and goes and visits the Gundica temple. And that is some sort of the understanding is the Lord goes from Dwaraka to Vrindavan or to Vraja. But anyway, he goes to the Gundica temple, which is about 2 miles away from the Jagannath Puri temple, and he stays there for about a week. And then there's again big Rath Yatra festival when he comes back. So it happens like 2 times, going and coming. And everybody who could not visit the temple can see the Lord when he's traveling. Like we can't visit the White House, but when the president kind of goes in a motorcade or something, we can see. So in that sense, the Lord is the president of the whole universe or the whole creation. And we can see the Lord when he's traveling. But before he goes to the Gundica temple, the devotees clean the temple. And this is that activity of cleaning the temple. So that is the context in which this cleaning of the temple discussion occurs in this book. So the Rath Yatra festival was approaching, and therefore the temple had to be the other temple, the Gundica temple, where the Lord will visit for a week, is to be cleaned very thoroughly. So that is the topic. We are in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 12, round about verse number 70, 71, etc. And I will just keep this picture displayed over here to, this is the picture, nice picture drawn by devotees of the cleaning of the Gundica temple, Gundica Marjana. So the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed his desire to clean the temple, and all the devotees rallied around the Lord and got ready to clean the temple. And very nice description is given that the devotees immediately arranged for hundreds of water pots and mops and brooms and everything that is needed, clothes or pieces of cloth to, scrub. All those things they arranged for to clean the temple and made everything ready for the next day. So next day was the project, like yesterday in our temple, we had the big project. So next day, the Lord himself welcomed all the devotees and, welcomed him by putting sandalwood paste on their body and very nicely welcomed them into this project. And then he went and gave the various instruments, the brooms, mops, water pots, all these things to the devotees so that they can start cleaning. And then he himself took certain instruments and they all entered the temple. And the Lord gave instructions, you clean this area, this room, that, all that. The Lord was kind of coordinating. Not only was he coordinating, he was himself. Then they all got on and started the cleaning process. So it is described that, in detail how they cleaned the various rooms of the temple. First, they cleaned the temple room, and then the internal altar area of the temple room, like we have the temple room here, but this marble area is the altar, sort of the sub-location within the temple room where, so the Lord went over there. As you can see in this picture, this is the temple room. And then, on top is the altar area where the deities would sit when they come from the main temple on the cart. So this area is being cleaned and so on. And all this project was going on wonderfully. So I want to show one verse here, which is very, very instructive. So as I said, this whole discussion, we should not just focus on the physical activity of cleaning the temple, But the act of cleaning the temple, for those that just arrived, is also the act of cleaning our heart, because our heart is also a temple. The Lord sits within our heart. So we must be taking these instructions from Chaitanya Charitamrita in that spirit, how to clean the heart, because it is a permanent temple and we need to do this cleaning activity every day, not once a year. So I will go into Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is our wonderful Veda-based library. And we go into the third book. We usually stay on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but today we are going into the third book, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Within this, it's the middle book or the middle volume, Madhya Lila. And which chapter? Anybody remembers? 12, very nice. It says here, cleansing of the Gundica temple. And then we will go to verse number 85. So like I said, this discussion starts around verse number 70, 71. We want to read 85. So this verse says, and I will try to recite it. Premullase shodhena layena Krishna nama bhakta gana Krishna kahe kare nija kama. So the translation is Prem Ullase Shodhena. That Prem Ullas means with a lot of loving enthusiasm. Ullas means enthusiasm. Prema means love. So in great jubilation, with a lot of enthusiasm, Shodhena, one is cleaning the temple. And what are they doing? In parallel or simultaneously, not alternating, not cleaning for 5 seconds and then it's not alternate. It is simultaneously Layena Krishna Nama. So chanting the name of Krishna while cleaning. Bhakta Gana Krishna Kahe, like this, the devotees were saying the name of the Lord, Kare Nija Kama, and they were doing their whatever was their assigned activity. Clean here, clean there, clean there, clean there. So translation by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charnarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the temple in great jubilation, chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna all the time. So simultaneously. Similarly, all the devotees were also chanting and at the same time performing their respective duties. This is how we need to do. So the learning here to understand is that keeping Krishna in our mind and doing the duty at the same time. Mam anusmara yuddha cha. Tasmat. What kaleshu? Sarveshu, all the time. So all the time, you can see here, all the time. Same instruction, Sarveshu kaleshu. They were chanting Krishna's name, which is Mam Anusmara. Yuddha cha was for Arjuna, that was his duty. We don't do yuddha, we don't have to fight for dharma, but we clean the temple, clean our heart. We have to fight against the big demon, not Duryodhana, but what is our demon? Our propensity for sinful actions. That is the Maya propensity. Everything is for me, nothing for anybody else. So when that idea comes, everything for me, nothing for everyone else, for anyone else, that usually very quickly turns into sinful actions. Are you following? So that is our war, Yuddha. And we clean our heart. So that's the dirt in the heart that we need to clean. So we have to do that simultaneously. Many people ask, how can we do our duty and think of Krishna at the same time? There are so many examples and so many teachings. You must train yourself to do both. Now you can say, okay, I'm doing a very dumb job of just mopping the floor. Then I can think of Krishna's name. But how to do that when I am, I don't know, writing some computer code. I have to use my mind, right? It's not possible. So I agree. I have not figured that out yet myself, how to write computer code, which requires a lot of brain power, and think of Krishna. But I can very convincingly say that there was a time when I couldn't even mop the floor or do a dumb activity and think of Krishna. I'm still in the process of training myself to do that. The mind just wanders here and there. Try doing a dumb activity, so to say dumb activity like cleaning the floor for 20 minutes. And those 20 minutes, think of Krishna in a focused way. And then you can evaluate yourself, how many of those 20 minutes were you focused on Krishna or focused on something else or somewhere else. That itself is hard in my experience. So let us start there, and then Krishna will help us to train our mind to do even more harder activities and think of Krishna at the same time. Fighting a battle or a war is arguably a very, very intense and focused activity, isn't it? Even I see when somebody is playing video games, they're so focused because they're like in a pseudo virtual war. You try to talk to them, oh, stop. I'm focused, I have to get this guy. Isn't it? Video game playing takes focus, whatever, when you have to win, whatever, the level. And Arjuna was not in a video game, was in a real war. And when his instruction was to remember Krishna and fight the war at the same time, we can understand that it is possible. We have to just get better and better at it. So we can start from simple activities and go to more complex activities. So that is one instruction of how to do our work, but at the same time, remember Krishna's name all the time. And that is what cleans our heart. And then after this, there's another very nice verse. We'll just read the English translation. The entire beautiful body of the Lord was covered with dust and dirt. In this way, it became transcendently beautiful. At times, when cleansing the temple, the Lord shed tears, and in some places, he even cleansed with those tears. The water from the tears, he used that to clean the temple as well. But the important part is that the dirt that was coming from the temple's premises was decorating the body of the Lord. So this is a slightly different context. So there are many teachings that we will go through in this discussion. This dirt is coming from the Lord's temple. So this is special kind of dirt. It's not the dirt of our heart. The dirt coming from the temple beautifies one's body because the Lord himself is sitting there as the deity, and we are more darker. We have more dirt. So when we put that transcendental dirt on our body, it is actually improving the situation of our body. It is uplifting our body. Okay, so we will move forward. And so the Lord was cleaning and the temple, and all the dirt was getting gathered. And people were using various types of clothes. Later on, we will see the Lord himself used his own clothes for cleaning the temple. Whenever we are cleaning, we wear, we don't want to use our clothes for cleaning. We want the rags, but the Lord used his own clothes for cleaning the temple. And then we'll go to verse 92. Cleaning once is not enough. What does the Lord do? After the inside of the temple was cleansed, the Lord again allotted areas for the devotees to cleanse in the temple. So the cleaning of the temple has to be very thorough. And this is a very, very important point, that we must clean our heart very thoroughly. Because even if little bit dirt is left, dirt has the habit or has the property of accumulating or attracting more dirt. In a pipe or something, it starts by collecting some small sticky object sticks. Then it grows bigger and bigger as more and more dirt accumulates. So dirt has the property of attracting more dirt. So unless we clean our heart fully and make sure every speck of our sinful propensities, our sinful desires are removed, there is a chance for it to grow. Like when you cut the weeds in your backyard or in your garden, if some of them are left over, they kind of sprout back again. You have to kind of uproot them from the root. So in the same way, cleaning our heart has to be a very thorough process. Otherwise, it has the propensity to grow back. So that is what the Lord says, or it is said in this next verse. The Lord then ordered everyone to cleanse inside the temple very perfectly by taking finer dust, straws, and grains of sand and throwing them outside. So not even leave the tiny little particles of dirt inside. We don't want dirt to accumulate again. Now it's not possible that the dirt will not accumulate again, but therefore we have to clean again and again. But the more thoroughly we clean, the slowly it will accumulate. Just like cleaning your teeth, or you're supposed to floss every day, you're supposed to brush. And the more you floss and brush, the slower will be the degeneration, or the teeth will stay healthy, whatever may be the level of the cleaning. And on seeing this cleaning work, the Lord was very, very pleased. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas cleansed the temple for the second time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see the cleansing work. So the Lord is very happy when his temple is cleaned. So our heart also, when we clean, it has two purposes. We discussed one purpose, which is to remove our sinful propensities. And that happens, that is more or less obvious, that when we remove the sinful propensities from our heart, we end up committing less or no sinful actions. If the sinful desires go away from our heart, then we won't commit those sinful actions, isn't it? But Shri Shnitai Sachinanand Dev Bhagwan ki jai. The other and the more important benefit is that when we clean our heart, the Lord also becomes happy. So we are not doing it just so that we can stay away from sinful actions. Well, that's great. That's definitely desired. But more than that, we clean our heart because it pleases the Lord. And pleasing the Lord is much of a more desirable outcome than staying away from sinful acts. Both are important. I don't want to dilute or downplay the importance of not committing sinful actions. I am just extra highlighting the aspect of pleasing the Lord. So when we clean the heart, we have two outcomes. What are the two outcomes? What is the first one? When we clean the heart, the sinful propensities are removed. And what's the second outcome? The Lord gets pleased. So that is shown here. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see the cleansing work. And then more cleaning occurred on the other areas of the temple. The roofs were cleaned, the walls were cleaned, A lot of water was used to clean the temple, and the ceiling, the roof, the walls, the floor, everything inside the temple was nicely cleaned. And the Lord was continuously showing by his personal example of how nicely and thoroughly to clean the temple. There are more very nice incidents, but I'll kind of skip over for lack of time. And here we see in verse number 104, I'll just skip here. Here it is seen, the Lord mopped the rooms with his is a capital H. So the Lord is mopping the room with his own clothes, and he polished the throne with them also. So how he is using his own clothes to clean and polish the room. So the point is, we should use every resource available in our capacity to clean our heart. We should leave no stone unturned in the process of cleansing our heart. We should make that the top priority in our life, to clean the heart, because the Lord is sitting in the heart, and we want to offer a clean heart to the Lord to sit. So since the heart is the sitting place of the Lord, Hriddeshe Arjuna Tisthati, the Lord is sitting in Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tisthati. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, which verse? 61. Last chapter, 61st verse. What is it? Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. Who is the Ishvara of all the living entities? The Lord. And where is he sitting? Hriddeshe Arjuna Tisthati. In the location, Hriddeshe. Hrida means heart, Desha means location. So where the heart is, that location, Hriddeshe, my dear Arjuna, Tisthati means sitting. Ishvara is sitting there. So very clearly it is given in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord is sitting in the heart of all living entities, Sarva Bhutana. So therefore, we must clean the heart, our heart, which is full of sinful desires, sinful propensities, so that we can offer a nice, clean place for the Lord to sit. We are reading the Gundica Marjana pastime for obvious reasons. For obvious reasons, we are reading this pastime because we just did this big project. And here, very nicely, it is mentioned that in this way, all the rooms were cleansed with 100 water pots. And what happened here? After the rooms had been cleansed, the minds of the devotees were as clean as the rooms. So when we do Bhagavat sewa, sewa of Bhagavan or sewa of the Bhagavats, the pure devotees, the Lord appeared as his devotee. So everybody was serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was the Lord himself, but he was cleaning the Lord's temple. So when we do Bhagavat seva in this way, cleaning the Lord's temple, serving the pure devotees, serving the Lord, our minds get cleansed. So we must do this seva with a pure heart, with the intention of cleansing our heart. Not that while we are cleaning the temple, we are talking about politics and sports or movies or whatever. And we will see that in just a second, how the devotees, we already saw that, how everybody was chanting Krishna's name. And again, that will come to re-emphasize that while we are doing seva, Bhagavat seva, our minds should be focused on the Lord. And it doesn't mean you have to be quiet and just do it, and the person is standing next to you and you don't care about him, or you don't acknowledge his presence or you're just ignoring them. That's not the case, but you can do Krishna Katha with them. You can discuss about Krishna, or there can be many things discussing about each other's sadhana, about basically Krishna conscious aligned discussion. Guhyam Praksheti also you can do, having nice discussion, but not talking about mundane, useless topics. What was the latest tweet by Donald Trump, or what was the latest whatever. All this thing, politics, sports, etc. So that is how, if we do Bhagavat Seva, then it cleans our heart and it cleans our mind. So like this, the cleaning of the temple was continuing to happen. And very importantly, another very important point to be understood here, I'll just skip few verses and go to 110. Many of the water pots were broken when people collided with one another. They were running and getting water, and the water pots were made of clay. So, if, inadvertently you bump into someone and water pot fell and broke, and hundreds of men had to bring new water pots to fill. You see, you're visualizing this picture in your mind. So this is a very, very important learning that senior devotees and our Gurujanas tell us, that everybody is trying to serve the Lord. Now, by chance you didn't see and you bumped into someone and the poor fellow was bringing water from the well. Now, you can imagine it's a lot of work to bring a heavy pot of water, isn't it? And you can say, oh, sorry, I didn't see, I bumped into you, and your hard work of, carrying those 20 pounds heavy water, now, you have to go do it again. So then you begin to whine and complain and, why the heck you didn't see? Don't you have eyes? All these thoughts come to our mind. But we must see their mood, that they're also serving, we are also serving, and we have to be tolerant of each other. Mistakes happen. So it's not that we should, there will be, like there's a saying that, when there is 2 pots in a box, there will be some sound. क्या कहते हैं, जब बर्तन होंगे तो कुछ खटपट होएगी. But we should not lose our larger picture, that we are all here trying to serve the Lord and trying to, nobody has a bad intention. Nobody is trying to push you and make you fall. We are all trying to do, and we are not perfect. And mistakes happen, and tolerate and do it. And we also have committed mistakes, but then we are very generous on ourselves. Oh, I was really not seeing. So it's perfectly fine if I bumped into this guy and he had to suffer. We are instant in forgiving ourselves. We don't carry the grudge against ourselves, but we carry the grudge against others. So as quickly as we give up our grudge to ourselves, we should give it up to others, or for others, whatever. Next few verses are re-emphasizing the same point. Some people were filling the pots and others were washing the rooms, but everyone was engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and Hari. Next verse also says the same thing. One person begged for a water pot by chanting the holy names Krishna, Krishna. Another person delivered a pot while chanting Krishna, Krishna. So basically the word Krishna became like a call sign, or a call, call term. Instead of saying hey or hey there, you'd say hey Krishna, or not hey Krishna, but Krishna, or Krishna Krishna, or things like that, or Hari Bol. So whenever anyone had to speak, he did so by uttering the holy name of Krishna. Consequently, the holy name of Krishna became an indication for everyone who wanted something. That became the sort of the call sign. So that is the mood that Lord Chaitanya is demonstrating. In interest of time, I will skip certain things which I had planned to talk about, but I will go finally to one point, one very important point. This is verse, I will go to 121. Thus, all places around the temple were thoroughly washed. So not only in the temple, but outside, within and without. So this is like a poetic thing, but within and without means inside and outside. That's the meaning of the without. So all the places were around the temple were thoroughly washed, within and without, inside and outside. And this is very, very important, and I will come to this point in just a second. I'll stay on this point, and you also please stay on this point of inside and outside. So I'll go to 133 and just read a couple of sequence of verses till 135, just three, 133, 134, and 135. So 133 says, in this way, all the quarters of the Gundica temple were completely cleansed and cleared. All quarters were cool and spotless, like one's cleansed and pacified mind. So all the quarters, all the areas of the temple were completely cleaned. When the water from the different rooms was finally let out through the halls, it appeared as if rivers were rushing out to meet the waters of the ocean. So much water was used to cleanse the temple, which means a very, very thorough job of cleaning the temple occurred. And this is the final verse. Outside the gateway of the temple, all the roads were also cleansed. No one could tell exactly how this was done. So that is of course, all the devotees who were cleaning the temple did it, but the point of this, that no one could tell exactly how this was done, is because there were just so many devotees working with so focused attention that everything, not only inside the temple, but even outside the roads, and it is said a large part of the area outside the temple was also cleansed. Are you following? So why? So the thought I want to end with is, why should we clean so much outside the temple? The Lord is going to sit inside the temple. So that's nice. We clean inside the temple. Just like the Lord sits inside our heart, so we should clean inside our heart. Here it is mentioned also one must clean outside. So what is the point of cleaning outside? Anybody has a thought? Sorry, to make sure. Wonderful, very nice. Thank you. That's exactly the answer. What she said is that to make sure that we don't attract any more dirt. In this context, what that means is that the dirt is to be thrown so far away so that it doesn't even come close. So not only we should throw the dirt outside our heart, Krishnitai Satyanand Dev Bhagwan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We have to throw the dirt so far away to make sure it doesn't come back. And in our personal context, what it means is that it's not only important to clean our heart, but clean our surroundings as well. The heart is the mind, heart, kind of synonymous. Clean the mind, like we just read, when they cleaned the temple, their minds were also cleansed. We generally have this feeling or this, the mind is in the brain. That's not the, that mind, yes, is in the brain, like, use your mind to solve a math problem. Okay, yeah, you have to use your brain. But this mind, what is known as mana or chitta in Sanskrit, chanchalam hi manah Krishna, that man is very chanchal. Or that chitta madgatah prana, bodhayantah parasparam. Mad chitta, putting the mind on me. So chitta, man, these are the Sanskrit terms. That is in the heart. Our heart has all these desires. And the heart or the mind, sorry, the man gets its inputs from where? From where does the mind get all its inputs? And what is the medium? What is the, from the senses? Yes, our 5 senses, right? Eyes, ears, nose, which ones did I miss? Touch and tongue. Those are our 5 senses with which we gather the inputs from our surroundings and feed it to the mind. Yeah. Like somebody, who's stopped smoking, when he passes by a cigarette shop, oh, just once, just today, I happen to just pass by this place today. I'm not going to come here again anyway. So he's in that vicinity, he's in that surrounding. And then the man or the heart, slips. So in that way, our surroundings also need to be cleaned so that it doesn't provide that input to our mind to commit sinful actions. So we must clean our surroundings as well. What this means in our practical context, remove the things that may give us sinful surges of thought from our house, from our wherever we physically locate ourselves in this world. Maybe the workplace, maybe the house, and not only that, the people we associate with. If we have certain people that we always, what is the fastest way to become a drunkard? To associate with a drunkard. So if you want to commit sinful activities or any activities, actually even the good activities, association works both ways. I remember when in my college time, when exams used to approach, I used to start hanging out with all the studious people. But in the beginning of the semester, I would hang out with all the ruffians so I can enjoy. So the best way to do that, so association is very important. If I want to get good marks in the exam, hang out with the people who study, and then something will rub on you. So association creates our or molds the fabric of our mind. So that is all external, isn't it? The people with us we associate with are outside us, they are not inside our heart. So we must change that association. Hare Krishna. Please come in. You can sit down wherever you like, on a chair or on the floor. So that is very, very, very important, to cleanse the outside as well. And when the Lord said all the dirt should be cleaned for several miles outside the temple, that is the meaning. To clean our environment so that we can keep our heart clean. I will end with reading this. Srila Prabhupada, after this whole section on the Gundica Marjana. Gundica Marjana means, Gundica is the name of the temple, Gundica temple. Marjana means to clean. Same word that is used by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Cheto Darpana Marjanam. That one should clean the Cheta, again the word Chitta or Cheta, Cheto Darpana, the mirror of the heart should be cleansed, Marjana, by Harinam Sankirtanam, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So that is that famous verse, how to clean the heart by Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Just like here, they were saying all the time Krishna's name, doing Krishna Katha, thinking about Krishna. So this Gundica Marjana, when this was occurring, so no, sorry, I was saying that after this whole episode of Gundica Marjana, which started from verse number 70-ish onwards, around 70, 71, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 12. Checking if everybody is awake. Chapter 12, verse number 70-ish, and finishes or ends at verse number 135. So this is 135, as you can see. And very nice, this is a very long purport where Srila Prabhupada is summarizing all the teachings from this whole section, which we went over in the class today. I didn't cover all the teachings, I covered some of them. There are more teachings to be had, and I invite you to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you want, we have the whole set of 9 volumes available in the temple. You can purchase. Books cost money to print. That's why you can purchase, but it's freely available online at this website, vedabase.io. That's what I'm using. This is not a private website. It's open to the whole world. And I want to read from here one paragraph which starts in, by his practical example. If you see that, you let me know. Yeah, right here. So I will read this paragraph, which is very, I was very inspired by this one paragraph. It's a long, very long purport. I obviously invite you to read the whole thing. But due to certain time constraint of today's class, and we have to end at 12:30, we will engage in Shri Krishna Sankirtana. As the process of Arati will happen, we will do Kirtan here, and we will do and the Pujari will do Arati over there. So when the Arati is happening, while we are doing Kirtan, please focus your mind on cleaning the dirt in your heart. Pray to the Lord very sincerely to invite his help, to request his help, so that we can clean the dirt in our heart, all the sinful desires we have. And we should clean it till far away. So that is the point, not only inside the heart, but in our surroundings. We have to do a very deep cleaning. So I'm going to read this paragraph. By his practical example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown us that all the grains of sand must be picked up thoroughly and thrown outside. So definitely we must clean the inside and throw the sand or the dirt outside. Next sentence is very important. This sentence. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the outside of the temple, fearing that the grains of sand would again come within. In this connection, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj, who is the spiritual master or guru of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of ISKCON. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity includes sinful propensities, sinful desires, and then, trying to get temporary fruits that taste sweet, but produce bad results. When you commit sinful activity, the result is temporarily sweet. If you rob a bank, yeah, you can, enjoy that money for some time, but sooner or later you'll get caught, and then you have to spend the rest of your life in jail. Temporary enjoyment is there, and for that we commit sinful activity. That is fruitive activity in a certain sense. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desire for a fruitive activity again comes into being within the heart. You following this? Very important sentence. Sometimes the subtle desire, so even though we have removed it from our heart, the subtle desire for fruitive activity comes into being within the heart. One often thinks of conducting business to improve devotional activity. This is very, very, very important section here. Please try to see which of these are there in your heart. These are all sinful propensities. Sinful activity doesn't just mean murdering somebody else or stealing or burglary. Those are the usual terms that come to our mind when we say sinful activity. Oh, I didn't kill anyone. I didn't steal anybody's money. I didn't, commit any burglary or anything. There are subtle saving activities, but contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, such as kutinati, fault finding, one of the biggest sinful activities, fault finding in others. Nobody made you the judge of anybody else. Fault finding. Another one is pratishtha, the pride or the ego of one's position. I am the boss. You're not my employee, but you're my slave. So that, that even though we may have done away with slavery in the society, we have not yet gotten rid of the concept of slavery in our mind. Everybody thinks that I am the master, everybody else is the slave. Pratishtha, the desire for name and fame, for high position. We'll just end in 1 minute. Jiva himsa, envy for other living entities. Nishiddhachara, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra. Kama, desire for material gain. And puja, hankering for popularity. I want to become famous. I'll do anything and everything to become famous, to gain people's acknowledgement or acceptance. The word, where is this? Kutinati. Yeah, we are reading here, just that paragraph and we'll be done. The word kutinati means duplicity. I am guilty of that. And you should look in your heart if you are guilty of that. Hypocrisy, duplicity. As an example of pratishtha, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place. But one's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept one to be as good as Haridas Thakur just because one lives in a solitary place. These are all material desires. So you're pretending to imitate the great people, but you're doing very nicely. You're looking, is somebody watching? Oh, nobody's watching. Oh, that guy is watching. Nice. Let me do it. Let me do more acting. More acting. A neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well, namely desires for women and money. In this way, the heart is again filled with dirty things and becomes harder and harder, like that of a materialist. So the heart hardens to the extent that gradually one desires to become a reputed devotee or even an avatar. There is no limit to how high you want to go. Finally, you want to become God. You want to defeat the ultimate competition, not only the other people, but even God. So that is where it leads to. So please, the essence of the discussion was to look in our heart and to consider that what are the sinful propensities in our heart and try to constantly clean them. And with that intention, with that prayer, let us engage in Shri Krishna Sankirtana as the Aarti is going on, and with the mercy and blessing of the Lord, hopefully, slowly, gradually, the propensities, sinful propensities in the heart will be removed. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna.